Maybe you have had this before. Join the housing waiting list and wait for your turn. But people have been waiting for 10, 15, 20 years and still have nothing. Others paid cooperatives thinking that they were buying for council land, but only realized later that they were scammed. If you're thinking of buying, applying for, or building on a council land in Zimbabwe, let's talk, because there are so many things that you need to know before you jump in. So today I'll walk you through the official process, the real process no one talks about, and the hidden cost that turn a $5,000 stand into a $12,000 project. So this video comes as the most requested video from my channel, and I just decided to do it today for you. If you're new here, my name is Tarimak, and thank you so much for joining me today here on this channel. If you're a returning subscriber, you guys, you're really special to me. I really appreciate you so much. And if you're watching, don't forget to like, comment, and share on this video so as to reach new audience. And that on its own, it also gives me power to keep on creating content for you guys. So thank you. Let's engage. Before we even start this video, some might really want to know, what does it mean when we are talking of council land? It only means land that is owned by a local government entity. For example, in Zimbabwe, you talk of Harare City Council, Bulawayo City Council, Goromonzi Road District Council, Gutu Road District Council. Remember, there are town councils at the same time. There are also road district councils, but they all can sell land depending also with the location that you want to buy that land from. So some might be asking right now, Kuti, are these council stands even real in Zimbabwe? Because nowadays we are just hearing about developer this, developer that. So many developers who are coming up developing different pieces of land here in Zimbabwe. Yes, council land is real, but it's only limited when it comes to access. It's very difficult for you to access this council land, and it's the truth that we can't even run away from. And one thing that I've also noticed is that the demand for these council stands is very high. Therefore, the supply is very, 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 very low. So that's why nowadays we are just hearing about private developers developing different areas. Most people, they join the waiting list of any council that they might have chosen, and some they get land through this waiting list, but so many people, they have failed to even get the land, even if they have joined this waiting list. The most reason why many people, they are running away from these council stands is because of the corruption. I'm sure you have seen so many stories even on social media whereby so and so have been arrested in connection to corruption that has to do with land. So like I said, many people, they don't get these stands through the waiting list, but they actually get them through the corruption, bribes, or even some they get them from cooperatives. The truth is, being on the waiting list, the council waiting list, it doesn't guarantee you that you're going to get a stand at the end of the day, but it only gives you hope. Maybe one day you might get a stand that is very affordable, because when we are to look at these stands that are being developed by private developers, they are very, very expensive. We are talking of, for example, here in Harare, we are talking of stands that are going for around $55 per square meter, $60 per square meter. Some they're even going for 100, 120, even $140 per square meter. So for someone who is a low-income earner here in Zimbabwe, it's a very difficult thing to own a piece of land here in Zimbabwe. The only places that someone who is in that state can afford to go and build is only in the rural. That's why nowadays you're seeing there's a trend, the urban rural migration, whereas back then it was actually the opposite, whereby people were migrating from the rural back to the town. Also, one thing that you have to know about council stands in Zimbabwe is that they are partially serviced. When I mean partially serviced, in most areas which are developed by the council, you might see that they don't have even tarred roads. And some people, I have seen them asking if the stands that are partially serviced are really legit or they are scams. But councils, in most cases, if you check stands that are developed by councils, stands that are being sold by councils, they are partially serviced. They don't have tarred roads, and at times people, they just have to make use of septic tanks. They don't have sewer, and even at times even electricity. So these are some of the things that you have to know if you are to think of even investing on a council land. Now that you know the truth when it comes to buying council land, or the truth about council land here in Zimbabwe, now it's time for me to talk about the official process of buying a council stand here in Zimbabwe. So the first step now, like I mentioned, you just have to join a waiting list. This is the first thing, and in most cases, if you are not on any council waiting list, it will be very, very difficult for you to own a piece of land that is advertised or sold by a council. What is needed for when you want to buy a council land, or if you want to be on the waiting list, a council, they mostly require proof of residence, ID, and a certain fee. And these fees, they differ according to the council that you might have approached. Like I said, there are so many different councils in Zimbabwe. What you only need to do is to choose the council that you want to work with. For example, if you want to work with the Harare Council, it's okay. But nowadays, I've seen that many people, they are preferring to go outside of Harare. Why? Because in terms of traffic, it's a bit manageable as compared to Harare. Harare as it stands, it's kind of overpopulated. When it comes to houses that are being rented here in Harare, you find 4 or 5 families living on one property that was only supposed to cater for one family. So yeah, it's something else in Harare. Even when you are someone who drives around Harare, it will be very difficult for you to maneuver with your car from point A to point B because of congestion, traffic jam. So people, they are preferring other places. We talk of Mashingo, we talk of Blawayo, we talk of Kadoma, Kwekwe, and even the rural district councils. Guys, if you want land that is very affordable, it's best you go to these rural district councils. Why? Because I still remember there's a video that I did when I was in Gutu. And there were so beautiful houses that were being built, and it was showing that the developments, they are ongoing. People are developing in that area. And when I asked for the price of those tents, I heard that these tents, they were just going for around $4,000. Land that is around 400 square meters, 500 square meters, up to even 1,000 square meters, now depending also with the location that you would have chosen. So this is something that you should think about before you even choose to build in any area. In most cases, when you join a waiting list, a council waiting list, what they do is you then have to wait for them to advertise. Usually they advertise using the print media. When you talk of the print media, we are talking of our newspapers, or even they use the broadcast, ZBC News, whatever, to advertise the stands that they will be selling at that particular point. So if you see a stand that you are really interested in being advertised on any media, then you go and ask how. You cannot buy land, council land, without being on the waiting list. I've tried it several times, whereby I just see an advert in a newspaper, I try to go, and they actually decline there and there to say we are not selling land to people who are not on their waiting list. So this is the rightful time for you. Go to any council that you are really interested in. Make sure you join the waiting list. And if you still remember the video that we did with Mr. and Mrs. Nyagura, they mentioned that when they bought their land in Epworth, that is Glenwood Park, that is very close to Epworth, it's actually under Epworth Council. They bought that stand. It's a 150 square meter stand. They bought it at $800 US. Just imagine. And when I did that video, there are also people who came in and said they had bought that piece of land in that same area at around $400 US. So I'm sure now you can see how affordable these kinds of stands are. So one thing that I have to make sure I tell you is that for you to be on this waiting list, you actually have to apply to be on that waiting list. You just don't wake up and say, I want to be on a waiting list. You apply. That is if you have identified the area or maybe the council that you want to be under. So in most cases, what they do, when you are on a waiting list, they now do what they call a selection process, whereby they see if you are in real need to have land or to have the first preference of getting land in that council. In most cases, they allocate land based on factors such as vulnerable groups, first-time home buyers. So to us first-time home buyers will be lucky. So please go to the council and do the process. In most cases, this selection process, it's very, very, very competitive. So what I usually encourage people is to be patient and just wait for your turn. You never know, maybe one day you can own a piece of land. But this is happening in most cases with town councils. But when you visit these rural district councils, there is no much demand for land as compared to towns. So this is where you can get the best chances of owning land. So after the selection process, now you have to understand the costs and payment plan. So you will receive an official offer letter detailing the price, location, and the payment terms. The cost of council stands, they vary depending also with the location. In high density suburbs, the price can even start at around $5,000 for a stand. Then as the area appreciate value, they go up and up and up, and they appreciate value over time. And while those more developed or sought after areas, they will be ranging around even $40,000, $20,000 for a stand for these kinds of stands. These prices, they reflect the infrastructure in that area. When I talk of infrastructure, we're talking of the roads, water, electricity. Payment is typically structured as deposit followed by the terms, which can even take up to few months or even years. And this is also a concept that I've seen most of the developers nowadays they are doing. I don't know, but I think it's also a way of attracting people to buy stands, considering that the price of these stands, they are very, very, very high, whereas the monies that people are earning, so they are trying by all means to have these flexible terms so as to attract vanhu vakawanda to buy land. Then from that process, then we go to the signing of the offer letter and agreement. Once the terms are clear, you have read and understood, the next step is for you to sign the offer letter or the agreement. And on this agreement, it will include the purchase price, payment schedule, and conditions of sale. So this legally binding document, it should be carefully reviewed. In this case, like we always say, it's always advisable to engage a legal practitioner, a legal expert, or even someone about properties, because some of the terms which will be written in these documents, if you're just someone who don't have any understanding, especially to first-time home owners. It's very difficult to understand some of the terms. So yeah, engage a professional. Then we go to the title deed and ownership transfer. This is actually the final process, and this involves the stand surveyed, registering it under your own name. Me, this is my piece of land. Yes. And also, depending on the council, this process, it might even take several months to be completed. So it also requires one to be very patient. And once the title deed is now in your name, then you now have full ownership of that stand. I've got my stand number, so and so and so and so, and it's in my name. So this is something that happens with these council stands. So prices of stands, like I said, they also vary with the location. For high density stands, varying from around $5,000 going upwards, and for middle density, going from around 10,000 up to 30,000. Then for the low density, going for around 40,000 and even upwards, also depending with different factors. But these are the price ranges of these kinds of stands. Whereas as compared to stands that are being developed by private developers nowadays, for the high density suburbs, you can even buy a stand at around 20,000, 26,000, maybe depending with the developer, but they are very expensive as compared to these kinds of stands. Most councils, they might not have the basic infrastructure. We talk of the roads, the sewer systems. So it's something that you also have to look at before you consider choosing the council route. The downside of buying a stand through the council or thinking that you're buying land through the council is that there are so many people who pose as they are selling stands that belongs to the council. But one thing that you have to know, if you want a stand, like I said, please you have to follow this process. Going to these councils, you don't have to pay anything. It's free. You just go. As long as you have got money for transport to go to that council, you don't have to pay for anything. If you see a piece of land that is being advertised and they are saying this is council land, it's always good for you to go and do proper checks, to go and verify with that council. Are you really the ones who are developing? Are you really the ones who are selling the stands? Because there are also land barons who are posing as they are selling council stands, whereas so it's one thing that you have to take note of. And also some politicians, be it of which political party, they might even sell stands. Usually this happens when it comes to, when it's now election time. People, they will be buying stands around $300, $50 for a 300 square meter stand. But in most cases, after ndopa unozoona kuti stand yaya yanga isiri yechokwadi, stand yaya yanga isiri yechokwadi, wakuzoona kanzo yako yakugredha mastands aya makuputsirwa. So you have to be very careful. And also some cooperatives, unotobhadhara uchitofunga kuti you are buying a council stand, wozoona 2 years down the line, 4 years down the line, there's no land that you have been paying for. So nekunetsa kurwita mari, we have to be careful. We have to verify where we need to verify. So usually when it's a council stand, like I said, they will be partially developed or serviced in most cases. So what now happens is, in most cases, the residents, vanozobatana as a group and try to do this servicing on their own. I'm sure, like I mentioned, you had a video that we did with Mr. and Mrs. Nyagura. They said they actually had to create a committee yaitoona nezveizvozvo when it comes to nyaya dzemagetsi, nyaya dzemvura. Now that they have community boreholes, that's what happens in most cases. Vanhu vanenge vasina mvura, but vanogona kungozoitawo ma-community boreholes. So these are also some of the things that you have to take note of. So why are people choosing to deal with private developers when it comes to buying land in Zimbabwe and not choosing the council route? So like I said, number one is this waiting list frustration. People, they are now tired of this waiting list. Remember, I've mentioned that some people, they have waited for even 10 years, 20 years without having anything coming up. Unongoramba uchingochembera uchingonzi hauchazoita stand, uchangozoita stand, utozonota hakuna. So this is what people are running away from. So with the private developers, the process, it feels more direct. You just have to go, ukangona land ya advertiser, you just talk to them, they tell you the requirements, what you need to do, then you buy your land, that's it. For private developers, it's a faster allocation, and the process is, it's faster access to allocations. Once you pay for your stand, then you know that piece of land is yours. The council stands, they come slowly, and unengosingakwanisi kutopredicta kuti what's going to be the next step, what's going to be the next step. And also when it comes to private developers, the process, it seems clearer when it comes to nyaya payment plans. Vakatongokuti you are going to pay this amount, that's the money that you pay for. And then the other thing that most people, they just take for granted is that most people nowadays, when they want to deal with these private developers, is because they have the desire for serviced land. Remember, I mentioned that with council stands, in most cases, they will be partially serviced. So private developers, they show you that we are going to have the roads, starred roads, sewer plants, drainage systems, water infrastructure, even during their marketing. Even though some they don't finish, people believe kuti zvinongozoitwa still, but kana watongo cancel, kana vakatongogumira pavagumira vakatanga kutengesa vakadaro, that's it. For private developers, it's visibility and transparency. You can do a site visit, you see the piece of land that you want to buy even before watoitenga. You can see the progress, meet the salespersons. Whereas council process, it's mostly paper-based, office-based, and secretive. People, they believe that once they buy through the private developers, the process is very smooth. They trust these private companies to move faster than the government companies. And also less politics. Remember, I told you, if you want a piece of land, in most cases through these councils, you have to know someone for you to get that piece of land. Who do you know? Who are you connected to? So people, they no longer want that. They just want to go buy a piece of land. Apana shikuti wazozivani kana kuti wazozivani, as long as you have got the money. There's also an illusion whereby people think that when they buy through the private developer, it means less scams. But even though developer scams still exist. So if you feel like you really need a council stand right now in Zimbabwe, this is the perfect time for you to go and have your name on the waiting list, so that if they advertise any land that they are selling, you will have the chances of you being selected and be an owner of a council stand. So remember, I said there are so many councils in Zimbabwe whereby you can just go and have your name. We talk of Harare City Council, Shimba Road District Council, Goromonzi Road District Council, Masvingo Town Council, Masvingo City Council, Kaduma, all those town councils and all those road district councils. So wozotiwe waukwanise kuona land in Zimbabwe, then andishaziyo. But there are so many ways whereby you can own a piece of land. Remember, when people, they are looking for this land in towns, land in these residential areas, they are buying it for many different reasons. Some they are buying it for investment, some they are buying for them to have their first homes and live on. It's not everyone who is at the stage of retirement. It's not everyone who wants to go and build in the rural areas. Some people, they have their jobs here in the city. They have their life in the city. That's why they want to build in those areas. So please, if you are like that, don't feel discouraged. Ngoma ndio ngati and to those who are also building in the rural areas, it's not like to be people they have failed or what. Some they have got so many different reasons why they want to go and build in the rural areas. Some they chose peace, some they want peace, some they want fresh air. They just want a place where kusina zvese zvakawanda. So don't also judge people because vaenda kundovaka kumusha. Kumusha is the in thing to nowadays. So guys, this is all that I had for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you all. Up until next time, cheers.